It take you so long.
Don't I know?
Only takes you so long. I want to get out.
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to pull a little bit from
Because I didn't hate it.
north of that a little ways, which is no sign that, is that?
You know, 2 o'clock. You know.
That's why I got have long-term care.
And just
Well,
the mood changes.
I had 4 trains, so it might have been one of the last, 4 train program. How long is it?
I didn't get it.
She's not ready.
I knew the concept, but I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
He's fine.
She has pretty tight down. Very people.
Yeah.
If then statements.
And then
What is stuff you got? And then one other. Something like that, because I'll still use those, so. You can go back and say, well, I'm this, I'm that, but I'm not that.
That's when we used to have to submit our punch cards to the.
And it may be all good. Dreadful. So we'll see them. There's some experience. Yeah.
So Jimmy before, and she was in sure. No, you didn't know it would be wrong. That was wrong. It was 5:30. That fancy clock.
Oh. Okay. It's not something else.
It is not.
Oh, maybe order 5:30, I'm told. It's called meeting order. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from our March 10th to 2026 meeting?
So
Second. Have a motion and second. All approved, say aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda is a review and consideration of zoning application number 2026 ZA 02, City of Hiawatha requesting to change the zone from A1 zoning district to R3 zoning district for property located in the northeast corner of Apache Street and Kestrel Road, located in section 30, Township 2 South, Range 17 East. Finding of facts. Let me find those here.
we don't know.
That's what was next.
We gotta open it up first.
Do we do the findings of facts or do we open it up for discussion first?
Yes.
Cause I've got findings of facts on my agenda. Andy, come forward,
Yeah.
lead us, please.
Sure, this is, so we're a little bit unique. This is a table issue.
Yes,
So
sir.
there was some findings of fact taken, I guess,
Prior.
testimony evidence offered, not evidence necessarily, but kind of a description. So you could open it up to the floor if there's any questions, but unless the commission wants to hear more from Mr. Hoskinson, who likes to talk, so we don't want to hear, but if you have any questions.
So you're saying the findings of facts have already,
I'd say we presented this and it was tabled, so it is unique. Normally, yes, I would say, let's take some.
well, it might be something if we need to, we can revisit that again, sure need to, but at this stage, I guess, at this,
You know, there are people here that want to talk.
yes, so at this stage, I guess I'll open it up for public comments.
Hi, my
Hello.
name is Angela Inchikin, and basically my reason for being here this evening is it's been 7 to 8 weeks ago, I went before the city with a list of questions that I had, other citizens had about this project. And to this date, not a single one of them have been answered. They finally set up a meeting for next Monday evening. And over the 7 to 8 week process, just more and more questions have continued to come about. I've met with Mr. Scott on several occasions. A question came about that we signed a legally binding contract on March 10th with an LLC that was not in existence on March 10th. It was not filed with the state. That company did not exist on March 10th with the state. I'm asking that the zoning board either table this for another 30 days in order for us to have our town hall meeting and get our questions answered, or just to come back with the fact of, this is such a, I don't want to say hostile situation with people needing questions and stuff, that this is a thing you just throw back to the commission. I think that, looking at $1.6 million, whether 650 of that is in grant money or not, when it comes down to it, the city of Hiawatha is still on the line for that if something is done incorrectly. And it doesn't matter what way you look at it, that $650,000 is still our tax dollars. Plus the 120 that was done for the plating and the lands, and the $850,000 contract with an LLC that didn't exist. So I'm just asking that you guys table this, give the citizens the chance to get their questions answered before everybody continues to move forward, because for some reason, everybody seems to be pushing this, but nobody seems to be giving anybody answers. So that's, like I said, mistakes happen when people don't slow down, and I'm asking you guys to do the same thing. Please slow down, give everybody the chance to ask their questions, get the results. And if we need housing, we all agree, but 1.6 million makes Hiawatha the second biggest investor in this project, and I think we all have a right to have our questions answered. So, thank you.
Would anybody else like to make some comments?
Last time it was tabled, if I
Please stand up and
sure. Sean Foley.
introduce yourself.
Yep, Sean Foley. Last time I think it was tabled, if I remember right, I was here, we were looking to do a traffic study. Curious if one had been done.
I don't know.
No traffic study has been done.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Had the traffic study has or has not been done?
No, it has not.
Okay, thank you.
Would anybody else like to come forward with public comments? Well, I guess I'll close it for the public comments at this stage. I guess I'll just give an opinion of mine. I would like to see more of a full planning commission to vote on this issue instead of the four of us here. Hi, Hillary. Glad you could join us on via Zoom. That's my opinion. I'm not gonna say it's a hostile environment. I will say it's an entertaining and it's a hot topic right now. So, but I would like to just give my opinion that I think we should have a full planning commission seated before we make this decision.
I would also like to be able to have the town hall. I know it's just 1 week away, and I'm sorry that we couldn't get this scheduled after the town hall, but I think it would help all of us who have to make this decision understand it a little bit more as well. So.
Another good point.
And I've just had people knowing I'm on the planning commission ask me a few questions. One was, why we aren't considering, I think it's Aztec Court, is that right, in the north end of town where they had 3 lots? That was one question, why we aren't considering Walmart, which I'd asked you about, because there's, I think, 30 acres or more out there, which wouldn't need the infrastructure, and they're also wanting to know about the lots in town. So that's just a feedback I've gotten from community members about the project.
Would you like me to answer any of those?
All of them.
So Aztec Quarter, the reason that the city isn't pursuing Aztec Quarter is because the city doesn't own any lots there. All those lots are either owned by the Nest LLC or Heffett itself. And so Heffett actually only owns 2 lots that are suitable for development. They do own a lot that's at the end of that, all the way to the west. But I don't know if anybody has been out there, but that lot is in a drainage area. It's on a floodplain. And so the only 2 lots that are out there on Aztec Court that are available for that are owned by Heffett. So there's a reason why we didn't pursue that. I mean, we did look at it. I know that when the developer was here originally, you know, in a consulting role with the city, he had driven out there and asked me about that property. And so that's one of the reasons why, out there by Walmart where we own all that land out there, you know, if you get back to our comprehensive plan, you know, that really, what that spells out is that land's really prime for commercial or industrial development more than residential. And so I think that was because of that reason. But, I don't know that for a fact. But if I was going to make a recommendation based off of what land we did have available for that would have been my recommendation, is that that's more prime for commercial development than it is for residential development. What was the third question there? How many lots? The land bank, actually, we have some lots that are over by Star Park that the city owns that are available for, like, say, development of some kind that aren't dedicated use, like Star Park itself is a dedicated use lot. So we can only use that for parkland, but we do own some lots there. Other than that, we only own 2 lots, and I believe it's one Shawnee nine.
The land bank, the city's land bank owns 2 lots on Shawnee Street, so I think there's this misunderstanding that the city owns all these empty lots or houses that are burned down or houses that we've torn down. We don't own those lots. So as far as the area that's big enough that the city owns directly, this is what we have.
So for the MIH grant, you had to own the lots to be able to get that grant.
We did not have to own the lots, but while owning the lots, what all this does for the city, and really, this makes the rent something that can be done through MIH, and so it's geared towards medium income housing. We have to get that rent down into a range where the Kansas Housing Resource Corporation is comfortable with that number. And so the fact that the city owned the lots is something that, just on the developer side, they don't have to go into land acquisition, which would have further raised those rents. It was a bonus to, you know, get that into a range that KHRC would be comfortable. And so that's the reason why we're looking at city-owned properties. And I know there's been a lot of questions about, you know, why we went after MIH. And so the 650,000, you know, that's a grant from MIH in order for us to do this specific project. We can't use that money for any other projects in town at all.
That was another question people have asked me. Can you put it in a different location using that same money, or is it just tied to that location?
It is tied to that location.
That's all the questions I was asked.
And I might address the question about the traffic study. So last time we met, we talked about that road.
Apache.
Yeah, we don't need a traffic study to see that road as deteriorated some, so, you know, I guess I would encourage you to look at the section of land we've asked to be rezoned. And I think the question for this board is, does it match the comprehensive plan of the city, and is it the best use of the property? Obviously, this commission's not a place to solve all the problems. You know, whether we're going to address the use of heavy trucks on that road or have to put some money into it to fix it, that's something the city's gonna have to figure out. What it costs to put utilities there, you know, that's something the city's gonna have to figure out. The question we have today is, are these 3.4 acres better used as an agricultural cash rent source for the city, which gets us a couple, I don't even know if it's a couple $100 a year, or it's a better used as a place where we can build houses that will hopefully eventually turn into a source of income through ad valorem taxes for not only the city, but for the school district and the county. So I know there's a lot of questions about last time about traffic, things like that. We'll get that figured out. I think the question tonight is, you know, is this the best use of the 4 acres? So tonight, it's unfortunate there's not a full commission here, but what this commission will do is make a recommendation to the city commission. The city commission will consider an ordinance based on the recommendation here, whether or not those laws are going to be changed under the zoning plan. So, yes, if you have any other questions that way, I really hate to table this thing for another 30 days because I don't believe there's going to be
new information available to you in the next 30 days.
You don't believe any information will come out of this town, or this public meeting coming up, when is it?
It'll be on the 20th.
Monday. I mean, there's gonna be information, yes, the design of the house, the condos he's putting in, I think have been, put on social media. The investor in this is going to be present person to ask some questions, but ultimately, I don't know that it's gonna make. I guess I don't know ultimately if that information is gonna make a decision on are these 3.4 acres better used as a residential area than as an agricultural area. And like I said, there's a reason we're doing this 3.4 acres first, not the whole 34 acres, 34. Because we want to be able to kind of see what comes in and then make determinations from time to time on whether those lots should be rezoned. So hopefully, over the course of the next few years, you'll be seeing a lot of these smaller tracts come before the zoning commission change from agriculture to residential.
Thank you.
So if we were to decide to go ahead and rezone from A1 to R3, we can still have it farmed if something would, if the project didn't move forward, could that still be used?
Sure, so you're gonna make a recommendation that we'll present to the city commission. Obviously, you're gonna read the protest information at the end of this meeting, and if there's a protest, we'll have to wait time for that. So, I guess, I don't know the decision of whether you like this as the first installment of residential housing to go into this area. I mean, hopefully it's not the last. This is what we want. We want to develop that entire, brand new neighborhood.
So on this MIH grant, was this the first time we applied for it and received it, or is this a?
Fourth,
This is the third that I'm aware of. Is it the fourth?
I think it was fourth.
Okay, yeah, so this process has been going on for a number of years. The developer has changed from the original developer to a different developer, although the original developer is back on the development team. That was a recent development, but so it's Dave Anderson and Mike Webb. Those are the two developers that we're talking about. The original project was supposed to go on that triangular piece of land that's all the way to the west, be the southwest corner of that property. We were denied that one. We moved it to the east to help save money. That's the whole idea there was to get the cost of getting the utilities down there down to a point where they could make that rent work. And so every time that we went every time we made an application, we get specific feedback from KHRC about what we needed to do. And really what they wanted to have, we didn't have a project that they thought that we could get done in a time period that that the grant requires. And so we didn't have engineering done. There's a lot of steps that we had needed to take in order to get that done. This time we had spent money on engineering, had spent money on architecture, and we were awarded that project based off of having a project that was ready to go. And so there's a few deadlines that we're kind of up against here as a city as well. You know, we have contractually, we have an obligation to have a zoning and planning done, what is in 90 days or 60 days?
It was 60.
60.
I think more concerning is the deadlines to put this grant funding into action, and it has to actually be spent within
Right.
a 12-month period of time, so.
And so as part of the developers, the worst deadline that we have that we're up against right now as a development goes, not necessarily as a city. But the developers up against the deadline with the KHITC tax credits that they got for this project, which totaled, it was somewhere in the range of $280,000, I believe. They have to spend at least $300,000 of their money by, they told me the 1st of November in order to qualify, because those are 2025 tax credits. And so they have to spend so much of their money for them to be available for those tax credits. And so that's why, you know, we're up against kind of, some deadlines here as far as, getting this process moved forward.
So what happens if we do not fill these requirements, if this project falls through in future? say we try to apply for, the same type of grant, I would say that, we might be just kind of passed over based on our, if we weren't able to fulfill these requirements this time, but we get a project in the future, maybe these grant monies won't be available to us.
And that's entirely possible. They may not just exist. So, we're encouraging people to come to the city with plans to develop other parts of this, the property out there, all kinds. That's what the housing study said we needed. This is just what happened. Come to us first. But I mean, as far as what happens if the project falls through, obviously nobody wants to see that happen, but whatever structures are there, the city's going to end up having the land reverted back to the city, look for somebody else to start fresh. If the city doesn't meet its obligations, I'm sure that would be a factor in whatever grant funding may become available. It's tough to get, everybody wants it, so. I guess, did that answer?
Yeah, cause I just, I can understand it's a tough process to go through. And kind of all your ducks in a row now, and then there's a lot of questions in the community. And, again, with grant monies being tight in the foreseeable future, I just, I can understand where we might be overlooked if we try to reapply. Someone says, well, City of Hiawatha had this at one point in time, but they weren't able to follow through, and why should we reconsider? Hiawatha, this is a concern I have.
I think it's a legitimate concern. I couldn't tell you if that's going to be a factor. The grant funding mechanism could be different. So. But I think for the determination for this particular issue is simply that, does a change of the zoning classification for these 3.4 acres meet the city's overall comprehensive plan? Is it the best use of the property?
Is there gonna be a lift station? We talked about that.
Yes.
And do we know the cost of that lift station?
The cost of the lift station, Jason might have some better insight on that, but yeah, the cost of the lift station at, $50,000, but.
Yeah, Jason Hoskinson, city engineer with Hiawatha. Yeah, it's a package lift station. They range from 25 to 75,000. I think because the subdivision's on the smaller side right now. Yeah, you're probably in the 25 to 50,000 range. Well, that's delivered. There would be some installation costs, and I know the city's working with the developer. A lot of the costs and the budgeting and the dollars have been set forth based on bid averages for everything being bid out, and a private contractor building everything based on what we see. Now, there could be some ways that the city can bring that cost down. If the city's able to self-perform some of the city utility installations, so still kind of in the works, but
When we look at the finding of facts, we look at number C, it says adequacy of public utilities and other needed public services. And I think that was one of the issues that the commission, as a planning commission last time talked about, is do we have the utilities out there? Do we have the sewer, the roads that can handle the new development? And I don't know, do we have that answer? We've got the money for the roads, the sewer, the lift station, that money's all been acquired? We have lots of that?
The money has not been acquired at this point. No, that's going through the RHID process, and there's still a dollar amount, and so it's the best amount I have was off of the engineer's estimate. And so if we go off of that, it was around 885,000. The line items 1 through 7 would be site development. And so if you look at the city's portion of that, and this is based off of if we bid that out, would be right around, I'd say 650. I mean, you might have some better numbers on that than me.
yeah, I think that sounds right.
Is that included in these estimates that you've been given the public?
Yes.
Like 1.6
Well,
million.
so when we're talking about those kind of estimates, I think what they're referring to there, they're adding together grant dollars, or adding together the estimate, the total estimates of 885,000 from the engineers. That's the opinion of cost. That's added in there. There are certain things within that, some of that will be on the developers as far as hooking up to our water mains or sewer mains, things like that. So Schedule 40 pipe for like 40, Schedule 40 pipe. That was part of that estimate, that's gonna be a developer cost more than a city cost. And so they're adding together that number, they're adding together the grant dollars, and they're adding together the 77,000 that we spent for the engineering. And so that's where that 1.6 million is really coming.
So a couple of weeks ago, I was at the city commission meeting when we had the public speak, and there was a question on a 6-inch line versus an 8-inch line. Is that, what, I guess, where's that stand right now?
And so, I mean, it's a good question, and so really, the cost between 6 and 8 inch, it's not going to be I have, from the city perspective, my side of it, with the background that I had, was we're hooking into a 6-inch line as it. So the 6-inch line is there for, I'd say 1,500 feet at least. And so sizing it up to 8-inch didn't make a lot of sense to me, but at that commission meeting, sizing that main for the future did make sense to me. And so we're not talking, and so when I looked at getting a price for a 6-inch pipe, we're looking at the original estimate from the engineer was right around $100,000. The 6-inch, and so when we look at 6-inch pipe, it's more like 14,000, just direct material cost to the city. 8-inch pipe, you're going to add some cost on that. I don't have that specific number, but I think you'd be looking at around $20,000 for that pipe itself. I think that sizing it for the future is a great idea. And so I think that's something that, if that's a change that we want to make, instead of putting 6-inch in, we put 8-inch in, that's a great idea. And so there was talk about looping that line from, I think, Miami Street, we have an 8-inch line up there too. We're also getting costs for that as well. But that's going to be more on the city's side of it as part of the future plan type of a thing. But that's something that we are planning for.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Well, here we are. Hillary, got any thoughts?
I was actually wondering about if we change this to R3 from A1 and nothing goes through, the city won't be able to farm that then. Obviously they're not farming it now, but is that going to be any issue to the city if we go ahead and change the zone and then wait and then not get that what we're doing here?
I don't know where the camera is, so.
It's okay, you can just talk, I can hear you.
So, yeah, so if the commission ultimately passes an ordinance that changes the zoning to residential, it would no longer be available for agriculture. So if the city has a penalty on that this year, then like I said, it would be $100 or $200. We'd have to reimburse our farm. But if the commission ultimately passes an ordinance changing the zoning to residential and the project doesn't come to fruition, we'll probably be back to change it back to agricultural. So.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Wait a minute. And I should say that any contract the city has as far as lease or rental of any of its properties always includes a clause to allow us to terminate that part of it for economic development, which this would certainly be. So anybody that leases or rents or farms for the city knows that going into the agreement. So I forgot to say that, just so that helps satisfy.
Well, here we are.
Do you need a motion?
I need something.
Do we need a motion that's, it was tabled or not? What do you need? You get your extra sentence, just there.
Get my steps in. Yes, if you're comfortable with the findings of fact that were previously stated at the last meeting, you can move forward with the motion if there is one to approve the zoning application and recommend a zoning change to the city commission.
Andy, what's all involved in the plat? And does it need to happen first or second behind the rezone?
The rezone would need to happen first.
Okay,
Then Jason is our expert on the plat, so I can kind of let him address that, but. So this, when you're putting together more than two residences in a particular area like this, it is. Requires platting, requires engineering, which is why we have these. So the plat then would be to kind of divide that 3.4 acres into lot sizes.
Yeah, I can elaborate a little on this. So the zoning is gonna set forth the parameters we need to fit. It creates a box, kind of a guardrail of what we can do on that property. The plat is actually going to show how we're gonna meet those regulations. And then the plat will actually split that into individual lots, eventually getting recorded at the Register of Deeds, and that would then allow the city to transfer ownership of the land, platted land. It also sets forth, rights of way easements for streets and utilities and all of that, so. But the zoning itself is gonna say this type of use can be there, and these are the setbacks. And once it is, like Andy said, once that zoning is established, then the engineering side is, okay, how do we fit these lots on there and meet those regulations?
So like if it's zoned R3, for example, you can't have a structure taller than 30 feet. Okay, so that's one of the parameters, but the plat cleans that up as far as.
Yeah.
You know, and in the residential areas, you have to have so many feet setback from the road on the sides of the house, things like that.
so much yard, so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're gonna stand right here for a little bit.
Well, go sit down.
Well.
I do have one other question, I guess. Do we have to wait 30 days or could we just say we'll wait 1 week? Or can we wait 2 days? Like if we wanted to table the motion? I don't know what the notice requirements are for a meeting.
20 days, 20 days.
We have to get letters out.
The notice requirements are 20 days and it has to go to everybody within 200 feet of the affected area. Which would be,
3 of us.
is it you and John Deere and
Linda Ford.
Linda Foley? Well, she's not 200 feet. She's 200 feet from the triangle. She's not 200 feet from this area.
She's on the.
We let her know, we let her know, because we let her know the first time because I was mistaken on where it was.
Oh,
Foley's are a little bit outside that 200-foot area, but, it's really just, it's right across the street to the south.
So it just looks like Woolney and Hiawatha implement then if Foley's off the list. So, okay. Just wanted to double check on that.
So they were all informed a second time then on this meeting?
Yes. Every time you guys meet to discuss that application, we have the notice requirements.
They notified for the plat, though, I think, correctly.
We did.
Yeah. So not rezoned, but on the plat.
Yeah.
Andy, before you sit down, I do have another question. Last time Denise recused herself and abstained from voting. If she chooses to do that, there will only be 3 of us that will be voting out of a 7-member committee. Does that give us a quorum and will it actually be valid?
Yeah, so the city doesn't follow Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay.
We have our own procedure. And we didn't invent it, but we just kind of adopted it. So in the city, abstentions are counted with the majority vote. So we do have a quorum. If
Okay.
Denise decides to abstain and the vote is 3-0, her abstention would go to the majority, making it a 4-0.
Thank you.
If it's 1-1 and there are 2 abstentions, there's no majority, so the abstentions don't go in.
Well, at this time, I guess it's time to move forward with the direction. Left or right?
I have a hard time. I know our job is simply to decide if this land should be rezoned, not how it's going to be handled once it is rezoned. I just feel a little uncomfortable with all these questions from the community and myself to move forward. But as Andy says, you can, or the city would be looking to move back to A1. And what's going on with the developer and everyone else is not something that we can handle. The only thing we can do is say, our findings of fact allow us to agree to this change and say that it meets the comprehensive plan of our city? But I still don't know if I can make a motion for it.
Well, like I stated before, I think this issue is needed to have a more vocal voice at the planning committee level. Personally. But I'm here to take motions. I also feel like, personally, I think there could be some value to this next meeting coming up. There could be some information that could come up that would satisfy many people, one direction or the other. So, like I said, maybe I'm talking out of turn, but I think information's a good thing. So,
All right, then I will make a motion that we table this till our next meeting, which will be scheduled as soon as possible.
we have a motion to table until the next. So you're tabling this until repeat your motion, please.
Well, table it until the earliest possible date we can have a meeting, which would be 20 days from the day they get the notice out.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'm second.
We have a motion and a second to table the issue till the 20 days gets revisited. And we will schedule at that point another meeting with the planning commission. Any more further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Same.
Abstained? One abstained. Okay. Do I need to read the protest again?
No, we didn't make a decision, so
Sure.
they can't really protest anything.
Good. Well, yeah, good. Okay, with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. It is 6:06, 6:07. Means adjourned.
All right, thank